Welcome back to 9/11 Tracks, where we like to dive deep into some fascinating stories and experiences from the world of first responders. And today we're focusing on a bond, one that's just incredibly powerful and honestly sometimes pretty heartbreaking.
Yeah,
The relationship between first responders and their canine partners.
it's a special one.
It is. And we're going to be looking at a couple of really interesting pieces to help guide our conversation today. One is a song called Sadie, My Hero. So good. And a really thought-provoking article from PetMD called Why Losing a Dog Can Be Harder Than Losing a Relative. So get ready, because we're going to unpack the incredible connection between these first responders and their canine partners, the joys, the challenges, and then the really, really profound grief when a canine hero crosses the Rainbow Bridge.
I think it's been a really insightful journey. I'm excited for this one. These canines aren't just dogs, right? They're partners, confidants, protectors, and oftentimes they're a source of strength in the face of just immense pressure and trauma.
Yeah, and that comes through so clearly in the song Sadie, My Hero.
Yeah.
Right from the start there are lines like, in the woods or the rain, she'd run till the end. With her nose to the wind, she was more than a friend.
God.
It just creates such a vivid picture of unwavering dedication, which, in the field,
Yeah,
is so essential.
absolutely. I mean, just imagine yourself as a first responder, right? And you're searching for a lost child in some really dense woods, or maybe you need to detect an explosive that's hidden. Your canine partner, with their keen senses, their incredible training, becomes a lifeline. I mean, their unwavering focus could literally mean the difference between life and death.
That's intense. And it's more than just the training, though, right? Because there are these lyrics in Sadie, My Hero that say, when my world broke apart and I felt so alone, Sadie was there calling my heart back home. That speaks to such a deep emotional connection. Is that something you see often in these partnerships?
All the time. You see first responders face situations that most people can't even fathom.
Yeah.
I mean, the constant exposure to trauma, the pressure to make life-saving decisions in, just a split second, the emotional toll it takes.
It's heavy.
It's heavy. Having a canine partner provides this incredible source of unconditional love and support.
Okay.
A furry rock in the storm, if you will.
I love that.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine that bond makes the thought of losing them even more gut-wrenching.
Absolutely.
There's this one line in the song. Then cancer knocked hard and she stayed close by. I'd see the worry in her deep brown eyes. And it's just like Sadie sensed the handler's pain.
Wow.
Even while battling her own illness.
It really speaks to that deep empathy that dogs are so well known for.
Yeah.
There's actually a 2012 study in the journal Animal Cognition that showed that dogs can actually recognize human emotions based on facial expressions and vocal tone. So be tuned into our feelings and may often mirror them. Oh, interesting.
Which can be incredibly comforting during times of stress and sorrow.
That's fascinating. And it makes me think about that PetMD article that we mentioned. Right. Why losing a dog can be harder than losing a relative.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, the author's writing about her personal pet.
Yeah.
But I can't help see the difference to what first responders might experience.
Absolutely. Dr. Julie Axelrod, who's a veterinarian and a certified grief counselor,
Oh, wow.
often talks about how the loss of a pet can actually trigger the same stages of grief as losing a human loved one. So you got denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance.
Oh, yeah.
And think about it for first responders.
Yeah.
It's amplified by the shared experiences of danger and the constant awareness of their canine's vulnerability.
Before we go any further, I do want to encourage everyone listening to check out our YouTube channel at https://www.youtube.com and then 11 Tracks. We have some incredible videos.
Heartwarming, inspiring, and honestly, sometimes tear-jerking. So now back to that PetMD article. The author describes feeling completely lost and alone after losing her dog,
Right.
even with support from friends and family. It made me wonder, can people who haven't experienced that kind of loss truly grasp the depth of what a first responder might go through?
It's a really important point to consider. Grief is such a personal experience.
Mhm.
And while we can empathize, we can never fully understand another person's pain.
Right.
Dr. Wallace Seif, who literally wrote the book on pet loss,
What's it called?
The Loss of a Pet.
Yeah.
He often says that the intensity of grief can be influenced by a bunch of factors, like the nature of the bond, the circumstances of the loss, and the individual's coping mechanisms.
I think that's a great place to maybe pause and reflect for a moment.
Okay.
Have you ever experienced the loss of a pet? And if so, how did it affect you?
Yeah,
And it's okay if you haven't, but try to imagine that feeling of deep connection and that profound void left behind when they're gone.
it's tough. Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, that feeling of emptiness. Because that's something that the author of the Pet and D article really emphasizes. She talks about how her daily routine, even simple things like eating lunch or going for a walk,
Right?
became these unbearable reminders of her dog's absence.
Yeah, it's like that saying, they may only be part of your life, but you are their whole world. And for first responders, their daily routine includes, facing dangerous situations together,
Great.
relying on each other for both physical and emotional safety.
Yeah.
So I can only imagine how much more intense those memories and that void must feel.
You're absolutely right. It's not just the loss of the pet, it's the loss of a partner who has seen you at your most vulnerable,
Wow.
who's been by your side through some incredibly stressful and traumatic experiences. Dr. Patricia Kendry, a researcher at Washington State University, has studied the impact of human animal interactions on stress and well being.
Interesting.
And her work shows that interacting with dogs can actually lower cortisol levels.
Cortisol, that's the stress hormone, right?
That's the Weidelger, and increase oxytocin, which is associated with bonding and feelings of love and trust.
So essentially, these canine partners aren't just providing companionship.
Right.
They're actively contributing to the first responders' ability to cope with stress and trauma on like a physiological level.
Exactly. And when that source of comfort and support is suddenly gone, it's not just an emotional blow, it's a physical and psychological one as well.
It's both.
It's no wonder that, as the article points out, some people find losing a dog even harder than losing a human relative.
That's powerful. There's a line in the article that really struck me. He was my responsibility, my protector, my friend, my crying towel, and my court jester.
Wow.
It just so beautifully captures the multifaceted role
Yeah,
these dogs play.
it really does. And it highlights why this bond is so unique, right? It's built on trust, loyalty, a shared purpose,
Yeah,
and often an element of codependency if it's hard to explain to those who haven't experienced it.
I can imagine.
There's a 2017 study that was published in the journal Science
Okay.
that found that gazing into your dog's eyes releases oxytocin in both you and your dog,
Wow.
strengthening that feeling of attachment. It's like this positive feedback loop of love and connection.
That's incredible. It's like science is confirming what dog lovers have known all along.
Right.
But it also makes me think about the potential for guilt that first responders might feel after losing a canine partner.
Oh, yeah.
Because, they're putting these dogs in harm's way to protect us.
Mm,
And that must weigh heavily on their heart.
absolutely. The article talks about how well meaning people often say things like, he was just a dog, or you knew this would happen someday.
Right.
But those comments, even if unintentional, can completely dismiss the depth of the relationship and the very real grief that follows.
And for first responders, who are often expected to be, strong and stoic,
Yeah.
expressing those emotions might be even more difficult.
There's a growing movement within law enforcement and first responder communities to provide better mental health resources for those who've experienced the loss of a canine partner.
It's good to hear.
Organizations like Canines United and the National Police Canine Association offer support groups, counseling services, and even memorial events to honor these fallen heroes.
That's wonderful to hear. These canines deserve to be remembered for their service and their sacrifice, and their handlers deserve all the support they can get to cope with such a profound loss.
Now, let's shift gears a bit and bring the focus back to the song Sadie, My Hero.
Okay.
We talked about, Sadie's dedication and the handler's grief. But there's another theme that I think beautifully connects with the idea of resilience and the power of the human-animal bond.
I'm intrigued. What are you thinking of?
Well, there's a line towards the end of the song that really stood out to me. Now it's my turn to stay by her side till she finds her peace with her head held high.
Mm-hmm.
It's just such a powerful statement of love and commitment, even as Sadie is facing her final days.
Yes.
It made me think about how first responders must also grapple with that difficult decision of when to let their canine partners retire,
Right.
knowing they can't protect them from, aging and illness. It's a heart-wrenching situation for any handler to face. They've been through so much together, and that protective instinct doesn't just disappear.
Right.
But just like with human partners, there comes a time when you have to prioritize their well-being, even if it means stepping back from the job that they love.
Yeah.
Dr. Cindy Otto, veterinarian who specializes in working dogs, often talks about the importance of recognizing the signs of aging and stress in canine partners.
Okay.
It's about making sure that their final years are filled with comfort and love, not pushing them beyond their limits.
It must be a bittersweet transition, though.
Yeah,
Giving them a well-deserved rest, but also facing the reality of losing your partner in the field.
absolutely. It's a double loss in a sense.
Yeah,
And yet it also speaks to the resilience of this bond, The love and respect remain even as the roles shift.
right.
And for many first responders, the experience of losing a canine partner, even through retirement, can be a catalyst for personal growth and a deeper appreciation for life.
It really makes you think about the broader implications of this bond. We often hear about the physical risks that first responders face, but the emotional toll is often overlooked.
Yeah,
Could understanding this bond and the grief that comes with losing a canine partner help us better support these everyday heroes?
without a doubt, recognizing the depth of this bond and the impact of its loss is crucial for providing adequate mental health resources for first responders.
Okay.
It's not just about dealing with the trauma of the job. It's about acknowledging the very real grief that comes with losing a partner, a confidant, a source of unconditional love.
Right.
And it's about supporting them through that transition, whether it's retirement or sadly a line of duty death.
It's about recognizing that these canines aren't just tools of the trade. They're members of the team,
Yes,
members of the family.
exactly. And their sacrifice deserves our respect and gratitude, just like we honor fallen human officers. We need to remember and honor the canines who have given their lives to protect us.
Yeah,
Organizations like the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund have a dedicated canine memorial to pay tribute to these brave dogs.
that's so important. Their service shouldn't be forgotten.
Yeah,
And what really strikes me is how this conversation has expanded beyond just the grief. It's about recognizing the incredible power of the human-animal bond
yeah.
and how that bond can help us navigate even the most challenging experiences.
You've hit the nail on the head. Whether it's a first responder and their canine partner facing danger together, or a pet owner finding solace amid dog's companionship during a difficult time, there's something truly remarkable about this connection. It's a reminder that love, loyalty, and support can come in many forms, and that sometimes our furry friends are the ones who teach us the most about courage, resilience, and the true meaning of partnership.
Beautifully said. And for anyone who wants to see this bond in action, I highly recommend checking out our YouTube channel at https://www.youtube.com at 911 Tracks. You'll find heartwarming stories and a glimpse into the hearts of these everyday heroes, both human and canine.
It's a wonderful resource and a testament to the enduring power of the human animal bond.
Well, that brings our deep dive to a close. We've journeyed through emotions of joy, admiration, heartbreak, and ultimately a sense of hope and gratitude for the incredible bond between first responders and their canine partners.
So we've explored the depth of their connection, the challenges they face, and the profound impact they have on each other's lives and on ours.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of 911 Tracks. Until next time, stay safe and cherish those furry heroes in your life.